this Sunday afternoon rather. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Shirley Williams.
Thank you for joining us on Redefining What's Next Conversations for Women Over 50. Yay.
Foxy and 50.
I
50
like it.
foxes.
I like it. Foxy and yes, absolutely.
Uh,
Yes.
and and so today we're going to start talking about family dynamics. That's a tough one, but it's a lot of meat on the bones that we need to touch on. And so we're going to start talking about reflecting on the past and present patterns of behavior in the family dynamic.
Yeah. That's a very, very deep one. And today, Shirley, I'm probably gonna be putting myself out here on the chopping block. Uh, but if I can help somebody, I don't mind doing that.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's
Absolutely.
all about.
Because it's about to get real up in here.
Yes, 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 yes. And you can't get no more real than family.
And so we
Yeah,
want to really consider how our roles in the family dynamic shapes our behavior and our relationship with our siblings and others, and then identify some recurring conflicts and unhealthy patterns of behavior within the family dynamic. And as well as asking yourself some important questions like, do you feel heard in that relationship? Do you feel respected? And how do you feel if you feel like you're valued in that family dynamic? So,
yeah,
yep, it's about to get juicy, y'all. So, hang on to your seats. Okay, Deborah, let's do this.
absolutely. Well, for me, of course, I'm a mom. Well, no, I take that back. First, I'm a daughter, and a sibling. I grew up with four brothers. I'm the only girl in the middle, two older, two younger. And now I'm a mom, three daughters, and one son. So I can touch, and I'm married, and I'm married. So I can go in any direction, any direction. Shirley, I believe you have two sons. Is that correct?
I have three sons.
Three sons.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
three adult sons.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. What do you think is harder in terms of your role? Is it being the mom of younger children or adult children?
definitely being the mom of adult children
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's the letting go of being a mom. And then,
Yes.
and the tighter I try to hold on to that, the stronger they push against it. It's like, Mom, get a life. Okay, we're doing our thing now. We're good. You did your part. We're good.
We're good. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. If being a parent don't teach you nothing else, it will teach you you ain't in control of nothing. That
Hmm.
is for sure. Um, which I guess I could kind of delve into. This kind of comes up for me is my oldest daughter. I was a very, very controlling mother when she was growing up as a teenager. Because we get into the mode of I don't want you to do or go through what I went through. And so we feel like, well, if I can just intervene, if I can run
Hmm.
interference, if I can control, then you're not going to experience that I experienced. And what I found out was just made it worse. It just made it worse. And then at what's at the bottom of that control though is really fear. I'm afraid, the path that you're on, or you're not going to take the right path, or you're not making the right decisions. And like you said, it's hard to let go. It's hard to let go of that. They have to make their own mistakes, make their own choices, make decisions that they feel are best for them. So it is hard.
I think one of the most important lessons that I learned is even though we don't think we've made an impact or an impression in their life, setting a right foundation, instilling the values that they need to go into their adult life, I learned through my sons that They were paying attention. You know, those
Mm.
seeds that I planted when they were giving me heck and I didn't think it was making a difference is coming to fruition
Right.
now.
They were
You
listening.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, they were definitely listening. They were definitely listening. And so a lot of times we can buck our head against the rock trying to get them, oh, don't do what I do what I say, do what I say, do what I say.
Hmm.
But when it's all said and done, we have to trust that
Yes.
we've instilled in them
Hmm.
enough for them to make the right choices. They're going
Yeah.
to make mistakes.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to make them because it's their life. They have a different journey than what we have
Right.
lived, and they
Exactly.
learn from our experiences.
Right.
You know, even though we may have said, "Don't do what I say, do what I don't do what I do what I say," they're still
Right.
looking at what you're doing, and in
Yes.
their minds, they're making it. Well, I don't want to be like that. I don't like that trait in that individual.
Hmm.
So, but I have this seed that was planted that's going to bear good fruit. And so we
Right.
just have to trust that process that they're going to make some mistakes, but they have to learn their own lesson and live their own life.
And live their
And we
own
can't
life.
live it for them.
No, we can't. One of the big mistake too that I've made is trying to shield them from life,
Mm-hmm.
trying to shield them from hurt and life's challenges and hard knocks, and we just can't do it.
Mm-mm. No. Because we can't be with them 24/7,
Right.
you know, and we have to trust the individuals that they're becoming. You know, if they make a wrong decision, they have to deal with the consequences of it.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that somebody else outside of the family, or maybe someone in your family, said the exact same thing to them and they listened, and you're like, okay, didn't I say that? Why you didn't get it when I said it?
Because we're too close. We're too close. They need validation. Well, we know mom gonna say that. Let's see what this other adult has to say. And if it concurs, it's like, oh shoot, ain't no getting around that.
Right, right, right. Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
what we still said is still embedded in there somewhere. They just needed confirmation from somebody else.
Confirmation from somebody
And
else.
then also here's another thing is that we might be talking a language that they can't relate to. You know, we have to speak to people in
Mm,
at their level of understanding.
mm-hmm.
So they already have this preconceived notion. Well, I know mom is this way, that way, that way. She feels like that. You know, let me see what somebody else has to say about the same situation. And
Right,
they may say it like it might be somebody 10 years younger that can relate to that generation because they
right,
might be looking at us as like, oh, she old school, old fashioned. You know,
right.
I'm in the 21st century now. She's still back in the
That's true.
1800s.
That's very true.
And so they
That's very
receive
true.
it easier from somebody else than they would from us. But, you know, as long as it's all good advice and good seed being planted in good soil, they'll make
Yes,
the right decisions at some point.
yes, yes,
You
absolutely.
know, and it's just so many, so much temptation and so much that the kids have to contend with today more so than we did coming up as well.
That's very
So,
true.
yeah.
That's very, very true. And wisdom is wisdom, regardless of, if they think we're over the hill or not. Um, Good wisdom is good wisdom. So
Mhm.
that's absolutely true. But I do know, I can look at my behavior and some of the things as my role as a parent. We don't, sometimes it takes a minute for us to learn what that role is, especially when they're adults. Especially when they're adults. And this was another hard lesson for me. You don't have to do what I do or do the way I did it or
Mhm.
take the path that I'm taking, and I could feel myself getting um mad and just strong in my ego. No, you got to do it this way. No, no, and then feeling like or getting mad because they're not taking my advice, or come to me advice and then I spill my heart out and you go do the exact opposite of what I said, and then I'm mad because
Mhm.
you didn't do what I felt like um, you should have been doing. So
Mhm.
that behavior wasn't the best,
Mhm.
wasn't the best, you
Mhm.
know, and I think that probably made them feel disrespected.
Yeah, I was thinking about respect, because we do have to respect who they are as adults and whether or not we approve of who they're becoming. Because
Yeah,
again, it's their life and they're
that's
no
right.
longer kids. Once they become the age, hit the age of accountability, that's it. We have to emotionally let go, and that's hard for mothers especially to do,
Yeah,
because we're
it
losing our babies, so they don't need us to nurture them any
is.
longer.
Hmm.
We can't really parent them the way that we used to, and we can't at that point, we can't it's just it really has to be hands off
Right.
and just cut the apron string and let them go do their thing
Yep.
and live and learn about life the way that they need to learn about life,
Right.
because we can't control it. We can't control them. And that's hard for a lot of women to understand. It's like, well, that's my child. I gave birth to them and they got to do what I say for the rest of their life. No, they don't.
No, they
And think
don't.
about how you were, how I was with, well, that's like a no brainer, no contest right there. But let me rephrase that. Excuse me, I got stuck in a time warp here, but no. And so,
Yeah.
and considering how that role and family has shaped our behavior and our relationship in terms of what we're talking about with our children, our role has to change from being a parent now to maybe being a friend
Mm.
who they come to when they meet. Because, like I said, we've already laid the foundation, the seeds have been planted. Okay, they've been watered, however, they've been watered. And so we just have to get on with our life. Like my son said, get a life, Ma. Focus that attention on something else because we're good.
Something else.
Focus it on something else.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I've seen um, mothers that are so involved in their children's lives, especially their sons' lives, that they don't have a life. And that they're just too involved. They haven't drawn that line, that boundary. So yeah, I definitely have seen that. But putting myself on the chopping block again, and then when they come of age and come adults, and you don't know what's going on in their life, and so now I'm being nosy because you know because before I knew everything. Now you're growing up, you got your own life, you got your own privacy. Yeah, you have your friends, y'all have your own conversations, and I'm out of the loop. I don't know what's going on. So now I gotta go peek in your diary to go find out what's going on.
Ooh, that's a bit extreme. For a parent that's like that,
Okay.
that's a bit extreme.
It
Because
is.
I've always respected my kids' privacy. That's something I never did. I never
Right.
snooped, and that just wasn't me. Because I don't
Yeah.
want nobody messing around in my stuff either. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
and
that's because I felt like I had to know and I had all the answers. So if I know what's
mm,
going on in your life, then I've got the answers for you. I'm
mm-hmm,
telling you, it was, ooh,
mm, yeah. Well,
that
I
behavior wasn't very becoming.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. I could see how that would be that way, and especially if you approach, if that type of parent approached your child with something that was private, and it's like, how you snooping
How
through my
you
stuff
know?
now? That's going to cause a whole nother different conflict in that relationship because now that child can't trust the parent because you
Absolutely.
snoop. That's going to cause some contention in that relationship. I would think over time. And so
Yeah.
I think as parents, we have it's an emotional entanglement that we have to be that involved in our adult kids' lives.
Hmm.
They deserve to have their life, their privacy. And again, I would say to that type of parents, get a life of your own.
Get a life.
Let them kids go and let them live their life and make their mistakes and find something for you to do constructive with your time that doesn't that doesn't involve your kids.
Right.
If you got to go to a knitting class or whatever it is in your life that's not fulfilled, find
Yeah.
that thing
Yes.
and find your own fulfillment outside
Right.
of the relationship with your kids, because a lot of parents are like that. They get so attached to their kids' life. I mean, I know kids that's been so stymied because their parents have such control over their
Hmm.
lives. It makes them bitter adults. Now they're
Hmm.
afraid to do anything
Wow.
because if I
Yeah.
do this, then my mom, this is going to upset my mom, or I got
Yeah.
to hear
Yeah.
about this,
Yeah.
so now I'm immobilized. as an
Right.
adult. So that's creating stigmatism in that adult child as a result of an overbearing and over controlling
Yes.
parent.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that, that makes you ask yourself the question, am I doing this to feel important? Now it comes down to what's going on, inside of me that I need to be so involved here to give me, like you said, some sense of fulfillment or importance, um, that I have to be that involved. Do I not have a life, like you said, outside of
That role as a
that
mother.
role as a mother?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or am I not doing it?
and the adult kids, they may not know how to tell mom, look, I don't need you adulting me. I don't need adulting. I'm an adult now.
Right,
They may
right,
not want to say anything because they don't want to hurt that parent's feeling. But
right.
again, it's causing some underlying conflict. It's going to definitely be some conflict. Because first of all, you can't communicate
Mm-hmm.
because you're afraid that you're going to upset the other person. So you're withholding how you really feel and what you really want to say in that situation. So it's going to be some tension and I can't figure out why she got an attitude all of a sudden. Well, because she can't tell you what's really on her mind
Right, right.
about the relationship.
And then it alienates the children as well, because like, well, I can't
Mm-hmm.
share my life with my mother without her comments
Mm-hmm.
or without her have judging me or
Mm-hmm.
criticizing my decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So now, we've got a relationship where the closeness is being interfered with because there's just too much of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the parents really need to take a closer look at what's really going on with me,
Yes,
that I feel that I have to have this need to
yes,
control or this need to be
yes,
involved in or whatever the situation is. So just
yes,
step back, mom, and get a new perspective on that situation and let them kids go.
yes.
Freedom, that's what freedom and liberation is all about. Let them go. Go over their house and eat up all
Absolutely.
their food in their refrigerator. Make a mess all over the kitchen and then leave.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, I tell you, it's parenting is not for cowards. That's for
no,
sure.
it definitely isn't. So those are some clear examples of how being in a mothering role in a relationship with your adult children can definitely shape your behavior and the relationship with your
Yeah,
adult kids. And so
absolutely.
identifying recurring conflict or unhealthy patterns. And I think we
Mhm.
pointed some of those out. Unhealthy patterns is interfering in your adult kid's life
Yes.
when they don't want you interfering all up in their business.
Yes. Who to date, who not to date. No, I don't like her. So,
Hmm.
or I don't
Hmm.
like him. So,
Or,
yeah.
or, or here's another big one where mothers make mistakes at going to their adult kids' house and telling them how to parent their kids.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
For
honey,
sure.
honey, you shouldn't let her eat that or drink that or do that. And no, shut up, Ma. No, you can't talk about that right now.
Yeah, that's very
So,
true. Because
yeah.
kids, when they grow up to be adults, and unfortunately, sometimes when they start having their own children and they make the decision, they're learning. I'm not going to do what my mom did to me. I'm not going to make those same mistakes or say the same things that my mom or my dad, said to me. And so they it could go either way. Sometimes they end up being the same kind of parent, or they decide, no, I'm going to do things a little differently than the way my mom or dad did them.
I was in that line of thinking. That was my thought pattern when I was raising my kids. I wanted to do it differently. What I didn't get
Hmm.
from my mom, I wanted to give to my kids.
Hmm.
Like my mom, I don't ever think I remember her saying I love you as in a growing up at all.
Wow.
And I always made sure I told my kids I loved them. I always made going to bed a pleasant experience
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like each night, somebody one of them will get a chance to choose what story they want to hear, and
Okay.
so it'll be cute. Like, oh, ma, it's my turn now. It's my turn to read the story. Now it's my turn to read the story. So I always
Yeah.
tried to be more involved in their life than my mother was for me.
Okay. Yeah, and that was a good choice for you.
Hmm.
A good choice for you because some parents don't. They don't even recognize. I'm being just like my mother
Hmm.
was, and that's how they end up raising their kids or
Hmm.
whatever. So, but I can agree with you there. I don't recall growing up in a household either where it was a lot of hugging and kissing and
Hmm.
I love yous before we went to bed at night.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. And communication was a big thing for me too. Always keeping the lines of communication open with them. And like when they hit like maybe 12, 13, preteen into teenage, I used to have like these weekly meetings. How am I doing as a mom kind of thing, and
Oh
get
wow.
feedback. And boy, they were brutal too. They didn't, I had to stop after a while.
Like, okay, that's enough. Wow.
They didn't hold back, but it was helpful. It was
That
definitely
was pretty
helpful.
brave of you. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
brave.
was very helpful because I wanted their perspective. And one of the things, and this is what I see a lot of, especially single women do, that I'm so totally against, is when you're dating as a
Hmm.
single parent, introducing your kids to whoever the
Uh,
man of the season is, or the
yeah,
man of the
yeah.
month.
Right,
I,
right,
I never ever did that.
right.
I did my thing, but my kids never knew about it. And
Exactly,
or back
exactly.
then, like when I was dating in the 70s, 80s, or whenever, the 90s, guys would be like, "Oh, I can't wait to meet your kids." Like, "Oh, you'll never meet my
No, you're
kids.
not.
You
Right,
will never meet them. Because if you last 3 weeks, we're doing good."
right.
Because I believe, first of all, that was their home too. And they had
Yes,
a right to feel safe in their home. And I
yes,
can't imagine them feeling safe with mom having these different men coming in and out. And then, secondly, I wanted them to respect me because the
yes.
first time one of them got crooked in the neck, saying something out the side of their neck because of, it had been over. So I wanted them to have
Yeah,
that respect for me also. So,
yeah.
they can say to this day that they never see outside of me being married. Mom didn't lay up
Hmm.
with a bunch of men. If I did,
Hmm.
they didn't know about it.
They didn't know about it. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah,
So,
that's a good choice. Yeah, that's very, very, very commendable. So you young ladies out here, y'all listen up. Don't be bringing these men around your
huh,
kids.
and especially if you have girls too. Shoot, and them young girls
Oh,
going through
especially.
puberty. Yeah, you leave them men. If they can't take you to a hotel, they don't come to your house. No, 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 no,
That's
no.
right.
Not even
That's
if they
right.
put a ring on it. Y'all have to have a license
Hmm.
to go with the ring.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's so
you
very
just
true.
yeah. So identifying reoccurring conflicts or unhealthy patterns in relationships. Whew, that's a whole lot right there. Unhealthy patterns. We set the tone, I guess, by how we manage our households, basically, because it is about how you're managing your household. Just because you're the adult and you have these kids that you've given birth to, they're not your property. They really aren't our property.
They're not.
We have the responsibility to raise it, to build them a solid foundation for them to grow up in. And then once they reach the age of accountability, they're basically on their own. Our job is done.
That's right.
They're responsible for their own journey after that. And I
That's
know a
right.
lot of times kids they be laying guilt trips on their parents. Oh, mom, remember when I was 6 months in your womb and you did this, and I'm traumatized the rest of my life.
Yes. Yes,
So,
that is so true. I saw a clip. It was a Dr. Phil show, and it was a lady on there with her daughter. I don't know how old. She was probably like 17, 18 years old and never worked. And her mother was giving her $1,000, I think, a month allowance, and she wanted to cut her off. And Dr. Phil told the young lady she needed to go get a job, and she cried and cried, and the audience was laughing because it was like she was like, "No, I don't want to get a job." I'm like, "What?" That's one thing I did not do.
Hmm.
That did because I started working at an early age, so it wasn't gonna be nobody just just laying around and you're gonna get $1,000 a month allowance to do
Hmm.
nothing. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. Or parents buying their 10-year-old kids $400 sneakers, and,
Sneakers.
and you can barely pay your rent. And he walked around in $400 sneakers, and you got
Yeah,
a designer handbag. Yeah, that's like, okay, your
yeah.
priorities are straight. So as far as far as okay, identifying recurring conflicts and unhealthy patterns. Now I'm thinking about like in sibling relationships with your siblings. Oh boy, that's a whole nother can of worms right there.
um, yeah, I think I had it easy. I had brothers. So, I never really that I can remember had any conflicts with them. Now they had conflicts with each other, but I think by me being the only girl, I think their major complaint was as by me being the only girl, I kind of got whatever I wanted. I mean, I was the first to have my own, I always had my own bedroom. I was the first to get a color TV, not color TV, but the first one to have a TV in my room. Um, so my mom kind of kept me as the only girl. So that's the way I grew up. So I don't really recall having any kind of sibling conflicts with them.
Hmm. It was six of us growing up, four girls and two boys. And I think most of the conflict started like in our adult life for whatever
Mhm.
reason. It's like we just grew apart and became
Mm,
strangers. And then when
yeah.
I left the herd in like the 80s and stayed away for 20 years and tried to get back in the herd, it was like, oh, excuse me, where
Where
do you
you
think you're
been?
going?
Where
Yeah,
you?
like no, we're
Wow.
not the same people. We've grown up 20 years without you. We don't need you anymore.
Right. Wow. That
And
must have been hard.
that was hard because it's like I'm here. It's hey, I'm back.
Like
It's
we're
like,
not the same people. You know what? Now that you say that, I do. My oldest brother had a I wanna become rich so I can take care of my siblings syndrome. And he kind of saw himself as someone as like a some kind of patriarch in our lives.
mm-hmm,
Um, but we didn't see him that way, but he saw himself that way. And so it did kind of because he like you like with your siblings, it's like, well, we're not the same people. We're living our own lives, we're married, having our own kids or whatever, and we don't agree with how you see yourself in our lives. So that did cause conflict, but like you said, it wasn't until we were adults.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't fit in any longer. And
Wow.
I stayed a squirrel trying in their world trying to get a nut. And it's like, I don't know if that nut worth it
Wow.
after 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was hard. That was a hard one, but I finally, through some growth pain and some spiritual consciousness development, I kind of got a new perspective on the family dynamics in that regard, and I just had to finally accept the fact, that's who they are, that's how they want to be, then so be it, because for my mental peace of mind, for my sanity, for my emotional uh, to stay grounded emotionally in who I was and this
Mhm.
person who I was becoming, I had to finally come to the realization that they're not on the same journey that I'm on first and foremost,
That's right.
and I had to look at how the relationship was when we were like in together,
Yeah.
how they treated me,
Right.
how I was still always on the outside trying to get in, how they
Yeah.
would be over there in their little huddles and I'd be over here,
Hmm.
and then I had to I gravitated more to my cousins who I
Okay.
had more of a connection with
Got
than I
you.
did my own biological siblings.
Wow. Yeah, that
And
happens.
yeah, so that having that relationship with them kind of sufficed, up until a certain point
Okay.
of realization that, I'm done. I don't need that part of my life to feel fulfilled. I don't need them to validate me.
Hmm.
I'm good.
Hmm.
And, life goes on. The right people will come in my path at the right time, to
Yes.
help me develop and get whatever the nurturing and love that I didn't get from them, like my
Right.
biological sibling. I have other
Right.
friends who I'm close to, like I call
Right.
them sister friends who I've known
Yeah.
for almost as long, if not longer. So
Right.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So I didn't, in that setting, I didn't feel respected.
Hmm.
I didn't feel valued trying to
Hmm.
be a part of that. So it's like, are you going to keep tormenting yourself trying to be a
Wow.
part of these people who
Yeah.
don't really want you to be a part of them? Because
Right.
once they see your growth and once you start growing and
Hmm.
changing and evolving and they're still stuck in that same life and that same mentality. They're not trying to
Right.
grow spiritually. They're not trying to improve their life. They're
Hmm.
happy at the level of life, the lifestyle that they choose to live. And that's
Hmm.
okay. But
Yeah.
I want, if you're striving to make the most of your life, then sometimes you have to let them go. And it's not just family, it could be your friends, because that's part of the growth cycle. Everybody's not going to grow
Yes.
with you, and everybody's not
Right.
happy to see your growth. Because when they see
Right.
the light shining in you, that's light shining on the dark spots of their lives as well, that, they might be stuck in, which is all right for them, because it's not for everybody, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
So yeah, so the same holds true then for not just with our adult children that have their own path, the same with siblings.
hmm
And it's a hard pill to swallow that it's a possibility you're not going to be close with your siblings.
hmm
And I think sometimes, like you said, that trips us up because we think we're supposed to.
hmm
Maybe not. But like you said, you're gonna continue to let that hold you back, or just love them and keep it moving.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people let it hold them back because I've been with this person, I've known them, I grew up with them, we grew up in the same household, but they're not the same people. You're not the
They're
same
not the
people.
same
You're not
people.
the same
That's so
people.
true.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so true.
You
I
know,
think we assume people are gonna grow like we're growing,
mm-mm.
and
Mm-mm.
it's not the case at all.
Mm-mm. Their tastes change, who they are have changed, and especially if they have their own
Everything's changed.
family, that family dynamics has changed the dynamics of your relationship with them now. Now their family,
Yes.
their kids, their spouses are number one. That's their number one priority. And you
Hmm.
might be number 10 on their list of what they have going
Hmm.
on in their sphere of influence. And
Hmm.
so, like you said, that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, to let go
It is
of
to let
that
go.
sibling relationship, but especially if it's not serving you as well. If it's a
It's
contentious
absolutely,
relationship, it's always some
absolutely.
friction. You have unhealthy patterns, you have all kind of
Yes,
reoccurring conflict. Then what the heck? Why would you want to continue forever in that kind of a
absolutely,
relationship? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
and yeah,
it comes a time when you have to let those
you
types of
have to let it
relationships
go.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because guilt is another big unhealthy uh,
Mm-hmm.
pattern to fall back into. When you want, you could really want a relationship with a sibling, and they may not want the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you could go through a period of guilt and shame and what else can I do, or what did I do, where did I go wrong? And at some point, like you said, you've got to come to the realization that y'all don't want the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you can't communicate with them, because I'm all about communication.
Hmm.
Talk to me. Tell me
Right.
something. And I'm
Right.
gonna keep on knocking on that door until I get an answer. But at some point, if I don't get an answer, it's like, oh, what the heck? Ain't nobody home.
Exactly. Ain't nobody home. That's right.
This
That's
property's been
right.
vacant for some time. But when the
Absolutely.
handwriting is on the wall, I mean, just let it go, just like you would anybody else. Because I had to, well, because it was a process. It was a process. Because I'm
Oh, I'm
like, what?
sure. I'm
Y'all,
sure.
what? Y'all don't want to be what? And it's like a process of letting go of that, cutting that apron string, letting go of that
Mhm.
relationship, and
Mhm.
that's hard for a lot of people to do. Um,
It
you
is.
know, I don't know how much of it is egoic or not, but it no, I wouldn't even say that. It's because it's like you're losing something that's been a part of you for so long. And
Yeah.
it's like these people have been in my life for so
For
long. How
so
can I let
long.
it go? And it
Yeah.
was easy for me because when I focused on how bad I felt when I was around them all the time, it's like,
It was an easy
you have to
choice.
weigh the pros and cons here.
Right.
And the cons outweigh the pros.
Right.
And so,
Right.
and when you talk about, because they'll let you know over a period of time with the reoccurring conflicts and the unhealthy patterns. Because, like with one of my siblings, they wouldn't, like, she would go years without speaking,
Oh my
like
God.
2 years after having a relationship. Then all of a sudden the communication would stop, and I'd be like, okay, what the heck did I do wrong this time? And sometimes
Wow.
I'd pick up the phone months later when I haven't heard these things, like, are we talking now, or are we not talking? Are we on talking terms, and what? I had
Wow.
to check in to find out what was the status of our relationship
Wow.
at any given moment. That's unhealthy. That's not
And yeah,
natural.
that's turmoil. That is turmoil, and not to mention stressful and
Hmm.
emotionally up and down, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I can see why you made that decision.
yeah, so we have to come to that decision. That's all part of life. When you grow, you have to let go of some people
You
along the way.
gotta let
And
go.
some people are going to let you go. So let them
Yeah,
go. Their season is up.
yeah,
Their
yeah.
season is up. Yeah, yeah. You don't know how many times I've spoken to women over the last couple of years who just talks about how credulous their relationships are. And it's like, oh, well, that's my sister, or oh, that's my brother. But you keep regurgitating the same negative dysfunction. And I think that's what keeps that cycle going as well. When you keep repeatedly talking about the same old negative patterns of behavior, and that becomes acceptable to some
Right.
people. And that's a definite, that is definitely a dysfunction when
Yes.
the abnormal becomes normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when they're in it, they can't see it.
Hmm.
They can't see it. Because like you said, it's normal. This
Hmm.
is how we are. This is how we supposed to act. Yeah. No, it's not normal.
Nope, it's not.
Hmm.
So ask yourself the questions when you're in those types of relationships, even with your adult kids. Do you feel heard? Are your kids listening to you when you're constantly telling them how they should live their life? Are they listening? Are they paying attention? And obviously they're not if they're arguing with you about, well, Mom, this is my life. I want to do what I want to do, whatever. So they're not being heard, and neither are you in that
Right.
situation.
Right.
Respect is always paramount to me. you
Yes.
know and if you don't respect yourself, you can't expect anyone else to respect you either.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, respect
Yeah.
yourself first and foremost, and then other people will respect you as well. And in the family dynamics, do you feel valued? Do you even feel like you're part of that family?
Right.
Is it worth your time even being around them? Or what is the quality of the time like that you're spending with these people that your biological family?
Hmm. Hmm.
And if it's not healthy, think about weaning your way out of it. We don't
Yeah.
always have to be in their face like every day.
Yeah.
If that's every day you're in your family's face and every day they harassing you and stressing you out, then cut back, start weaning yourself off. Set every day, maybe once a week.
Right.
That's what I used to do with my sons when they tell me something that hurt my little feelings, like "Mom, get a life." Like, okay, I ain't talking to you for 2 weeks. And then my oldest son got hip. He's like, "Okay, Mom, so I guess you ain't talking to us now, right? Call me when you feel like it."
Like, no, my feelings is hurt. I'm in my feelings right now. So give me a minute.
He'll say, "Mom, I guess you feeling some kind of way about what I said."
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
okay. Give me a minute.
that's what open communication is all about. They call me out, I call them
Yeah,
out, so it's fair game.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But and
But
I'm starting to appreciate and love my new relationship with my sons.
good, good. That's good.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
learn I had to learn to let go of some stuff.
Yeah, it ain't easy. Sometimes we go kicking and screaming, but
Yeah,
you know, we eventually get there.
yeah.
Um,
And
for
I guess
sure.
like I guess one of the differences I think I heard is that boys are probably more direct than girls would be.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
Hmm.
true. Um, but feeling like you're being heard is so important
Hmm.
because because we feel like if you're not hearing me, if you're dismissing what I'm saying, then you're dismissing me,
Hmm.
and then I feel disrespected. So those dynamics are very, very important in any relationship,
Hmm.
whether you agree with me or not. This one of the things I've always been teaching my daughters that when if someone is telling you how they feel, whether you agree with them or not, hear what they're saying
Hmm.
and put yourself in their shoes and at least say, yeah, I can understand how you would feel that way. So they'll feel heard and respected. And you don't have to, and you can't say you shouldn't feel that way or you're wrong for feeling that way. Because I wouldn't want nobody to say that to me, but at least if I can make you feel heard, like I said, well, even whether I don't even have the answer or not,
Hmm.
but at least then you'll feel loved and respected.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that definitely works both ways as well.
It does.
Yeah, and I think with parents sometimes we can be too dependent on our kids to maybe validate us in some way.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and the kids are like, "No, Mom, that's not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for you right now."
That's right. That
Yeah,
is so
and
very
that's that
true.
clingy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because we feel like if we give them a piece of advice or something or our opinion and they take it, that it does make us feel good about ourselves or feel
Mm-hmm.
validated.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, I've especially in my relationship with my husband, I've had to learn how to validate myself uh, and appreciate myself um, for my own my own wisdom and because everybody's not gonna.
How did you learn how to validate yourself?
Um, I had uh he has a friend that he's had for about 30 years, female friend. And um they've been friends probably actually I take that back, probably 40 years. Because they've been friends ever since, both of them got married, had their kids, raised their kids, got divorced, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she was always calling him if she needed something done around her house. So, I mean, it was nothing going on, but just the fact that um, I felt like because he's married, that it's because she wasn't a friend of mine and it was never developed. She never tried to befriend me or for us to, develop something outside of him. So it was just their friendship. So I went to him and, um, expressed my feelings of how I felt about it. And he was very like whatever about it. So of course my feelings was hurt. And so I had to figure out, and this was a process because it wasn't overnight. Because when you go to somebody and you spill your guts or tell them something and you walk away not feeling validated, it's like, okay, what do I do? And so I had to appreciate my own values and appreciate what was important to me as a person and understand myself of why I felt that that was disrespectful, or why I felt that it should have been important to him, if it just as important to him as it was to me. So in those instances, validating myself, a big part of it was understanding where I was coming from, even if he didn't, and appreciate that self about me. So yeah,
Mm,
appreciate my own values,
mhm,
even if he didn't.
mm. Okay. Yeah. All right. And on that note, is there anything else that you wanted to add about reflecting on the past and present patterns of behaviors and
Uh,
relationships?
Nothing. Well, I mean, we could go on and on and on, but
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of time, um, yeah, hopefully people, will learn from our experiences and our hard knocks and what we did wrong, so they don't have the same have to go through the same things that we went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think more importantly as well is to look at your responsibility in any given situation, whether it's with your siblings or with your adult children. How do you fit into the paradigm of their lives at this point in
Yes,
time?
yes.
Yeah, especially
And the
dealing with
sooner you do
your,
that, the better. Yeah, the
yeah.
sooner you do that, the better. Otherwise, it's going to be like you said, that the same conflict, same
Mm-hmm,
behavior, same hurt, same pain, same
mm-hmm.
arguments. Yeah,
Because we're not even the same people who we were 10 and 20 years ago, so we can't expect anyone
absolutely,
else to be as well. So just,
absolutely,
more
absolutely,
importantly, you want to work on what's best for you in any of those
absolutely.
situations because you have to look out for you and
Yep,
don't let anyone disrespect you, and you don't need anybody to validate you.
absolutely.
Do you, boo?
Do you, boo? Absolutely.
All right, so let me see. Okay, I think it stopped.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right, it stopped on your end.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so I'll look at that and see what's up.